of One Man's Opinion. Today I am reviewing Sharon Playhouse's production of Thornton Wilder's Our Town, directed by Andrus Nichols, running through September 24th at the Playhouse at 49 Amelia Road in Sharon, Connecticut. I would have loved to have reviewed this last week when it opened, but my calendar was already booked with other things that I had to attend to, like other shows and personal things I had to partake in. You can help me expedite my reviews by maybe one day helping me garner enough revenue that I could review theater without the need of another job taking up 40 hours of my week. You can do that by becoming a patron over on my Patreon page, and I will leave a link in the description to that. But yes, I would have loved to have seen Our Town sooner so I could have encouraged everyone to see it sooner as well. Wilder's Pulitzer Prize-winning play is a beautiful stripped-down piece of the human condition, and nearly 100 years later, since its first production in 1938, it holds some of the most exacting insights on who we are as living, breathing entities in this imperfect world. At one point in the first act, the character of the stage manager, played by Jane Kaczmarek, who played one of my favorite television mothers in Malcolm in the Middle, tells us she holds a copy of the play of Our Town in her hands to be preserved in a time capsule for 1,000 years, contemplating what future, likely non-human, civilization will discover it and glean from our writings. It's a profound thought, and frankly, I think we'll probably not have changed all that much. As we follow the characters in the play, we find that even nearly 100 years later, we haven't changed all that much in such a little time as that. Whether it be the tiny conservative hamlet of Grover's Corners, New Hampshire, where the play is set, or a bustling metropolis of New York City. There will always be social injustices to address, cultures that are underrepresented. People fall in love, people die. Wilder intentionally wanted Our Town to be minimalist. There are no set pieces, no props, just a few chairs and a rather delightful interpretation by Nichols of using swings to represent the dead in Act 3. There are some clever bits of sound design by Daryl Bornstein and a person off stage who uses Foley sound effects to delightful results as invisible bottles clinked, newspapers slap against front doors, and so forth. The play's plot revolves primarily around Emily Webb, played by Samantha Steinmetz, and George Gibbs, played by Eric Bryant, who start off as teenagers. The first act, titled Daily Life, does just that, showing Emily and George's childhood life, how they go about their day, and how their respective families live their lives. Act 2, titled Love and Marriage, sees the two a few years older now getting married, and Act 3, titled Death and Eternity, addresses what we learn in the afterlife as tragedy strikes the Gibbs and Webb families. Beyond the clever little production aspects of Sharon Playhouse's production, I love Nichols' charm she brings to the play. There's a bucolic nature to Grover's Corners, but also a layer of apathy and selfishness that permeates the story. For example, Emily and George's aspirations in budding romance has a blissfully lithe quality. Meanwhile, there's the alcoholic choirmaster Simon Stimson, played wonderfully by Michael Kevin Baldwin. The town treats Simon with a brutal degree of indifference, left mostly for the gossipers to ponder to the moral responsibility as to what to do with such a tragic figure. Should they intervene or leave it to his doctor's best judgment? Nichols does an excellent job of balancing these disparate elements. We laugh at the innocent discovery of love, but at the same time, we feel apprehension toward the self-centered nature of Grover's Corners' humanity, and in extension, our own. Audiences, I suspect, are going to have varying reactions to the style of acting presented in the play. It tends towards an older, more postured style of acting. Think 1930s, 1940s overemphasis of motion and dialogue that was popular at the time. This isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's a choice that, for me, worked as it helped set the play in its time period, but I can imagine some audience members not embracing it the way I did. The only person who doesn't act this way is Kaczmarek, as her character, the stage manager, is a character out of time and speaks to us with a more modern theatrical aesthetic. She did seem to stumble over her lines a bit, which in this instance didn't bother me too much, as maybe my appreciation for stage managers know that they aren't actors and would have an awkward and nervous quality if they were expected to tell a story. I accept it more as a characterization more than a sense of ill-preparedness or nervousness on Kaczmarek's part. Steinmetz and Bryant are delightful together. They may be a fair bit older than their characters, but they brought a love of youth in their presence on stage. It's like they're living a memory more than living the moment. I thought the two mothers, Mrs. Webb, played by Dawn Stern, and Mrs. Gibbs, played by Marinelle Madden-Crippen, were wonderful. Stern's monologue in Act 2, as she fears she hasn't told Emily enough about womanhood, is heartfelt and sad, while Madden-Crippen's performance in Act 3 is hauntingly beautiful. Our Town is still as inspirational today as it was in 1938. I'd like to see it produced more. Wilder wrote it to be timeless, and I think Sharon Playhouse's production has honored that legacy. But I am only one man's opinion, so be sure to leave yours in the comments below. If you'd like to see Our Town, I'll leave a link in the description where you can get tickets. You can support my channel by becoming a patron on my Patreon page. You can also support me by liking, sharing, and subscribing, and click the notification bell to be alerted to future reviews. My next review will be Music Theater of Connecticut's production of Jersey Boys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the theater.